We've come in from the mad Devonshire weather. And but I mean, we couldn't really talk. We were out there.
No, it was horrendous.
It was it was quite bad. Is it like that a lot?
It is actually. We do get some, very wet weather down here. But while we were out there, you were showing me some vegetation, weren't you, and some sites that are brilliant for cell buntings, because we've already said that you're the RSPB cell bunting officer, and that this is the hotspot for cell buntings, which are extremely rare across the country. They are, yeah. I mean, Devon is really the only place that you're going to get them or see them in the UK.
Okay. And there was a strip of land in particular down in the valley, and you were saying, it's no wonder that it's so good for cell bunting.
Yeah, I mean, what they like is a sort of mosaic of different habitats all close together, and they like nice sheltered areas, so which is why that was ideal. You had sort of a lot of scrub, and then you had the grassland in between.
And what's it been like working with the farmers? Because you've really sort of persuaded lots of farmers to come in on the stewardship scheme and to manage their land in favour of the cell bunting, haven't you?
It's sort of changed over the years. So initially it could be quite difficult to persuade people to do things, but it's actually, my job's got a lot easier now, and people, now that they know that the scheme, the stewardship scheme can work, and it's not too difficult for them to do, and they're not going to lose loads of money, then they're actually coming to me and asking, me to help them put together applications. So it's kind of changed. Which is, it's great because it means that the scheme is working. If the farmers are, sort of coming to me really to do it, they know it works.
And some people have just become really proud, haven't they, of their wildlife?
They have.
And show off about it.
Yeah, and it's almost sort of like, quite competitive, who's got the most cell buntings on the farm, which is really...
Who has got the most cell buntings, do we know?
I wouldn't like to say.
Of your work over the last 5 years you've been doing this, haven't you? What's been the story that's most sort of warmed your heart, or your favourite kind of time?
I don't know. Gosh, that's a difficult one.
Maybe there's a few things.
I mean, it's just been a really rewarding job because, I've seen it grow and grow, and it's, so some farmers that I went to see initially, and it was just like, there's absolutely no way I want to do anything, I'd like to help, but, really it's, conservation doesn't fit in with me. And now, sort of maybe 4 years later, 5 years later, they've come back and they want to do it, and that's really nice to see sort of, people's attitudes changed, or, and they've decided that they can do something for wildlife.
Brilliant. You're very enthusiastic, aren't you, when you're out?
Yeah,
you're sort of gesticulating wildly about the habitat and getting excited about what you could see around you. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
It's Sunday morning now, and I'm joined by Colin, who yesterday was at the farmers market. And yesterday, Colin, you missed out on some fantastic weather here.
Yes, I was glad I was indoors. Yeah.
But today it's sort of still a bit foggy and grey, but it's not raining. Hooray!
Well, it's typical South Devon weather though, but no, it isn't raining yet. It soon will be, I think.
It soon will be. We're going to go and get blasted around on the cliff top
and
have a look at some management for butterflies and flowers and grasshoppers, and also for the birds, of course.
Yep, see a bit of gorse bashing, yeah.
And you're the keen bird watcher in the family, aren't you?
Yes, I am, yeah.
So I expect you to tell us all about that.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, let's go.
Fine.
Badgers absolutely love to eat earthworms, and this is evidence of a badger. It's come out here onto this green, lush field. I hope you can hear me because of the wind. And it's come here and it's scraped away the grass, and it's going to dig down into the soil, which is not frozen anymore because we're late January, there isn't a frost, and it's going to dig around and it's going to find the earthworms. Oh, and there's one. I promise I didn't set this up. There's an earthworm. They love eating them. And this whole field is dotted with little scrapes, little evidence of badgers coming out at night foraging. Come on, Betty. anything? There's a load of gulls around there.
Yeah.
What are they up to?
Yeah, feeding on something, I think.
It's not the absolute best time to birdwatch here, is it? Because the best
No,
time is...
you can't keep your binoculars still for one minute.
But the best time you know about bird watching here,
Yeah.
because you've been coming here for years and years, and you've been living here
Yeah.
for 11 years.
Been farming here for 11 years, but been coming to this site for quite a bit before that, yeah. Yeah. So,
To come bird watching.
yeah, we're on the southernmost tip of Devon almost, so you get a lot of migrants coming in here. And I've seen quite a few rare birds here, yeah.
I mean, for a bird watcher, it's kind of the best place to live possibly in Britain,
Well,
or one of, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. I've been very lucky, yeah.
It's the point at which the birds that are coming in from across Africa and into Europe and then into Britain, this is the point that they hit Britain.
Yep, yep. You can see them often coming in off the sea here.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, actually, but I suppose
Yeah.
I don't have to put up with the weather. You have had times of 100 days of rain, haven't you?
Last year was terrible, absolutely awful. And you've had a bad weekend this weekend, but I can assure you...
3 inches of rain have fallen this weekend.
Yeah, but I can assure you, I mean, when the sun's out, it is nice, yeah.
This area is managed specifically for wildlife, isn't it?
Yeah, the cliff ground here is mown once a year, and it's also grazed in the winter. Little patches are left so that you've got a sort of a mosaic of habitats, and it's good for the grass species, the plants, and butterflies and insects and things like that.
Right, okay, so it's great for those.
Yeah, because of the footpath on the cliff top here, the arable fields that are closest to the footpath, we've put into arable reversion and that sort of thing, just to have them as grassland.
We're going to have a look at that in a sec, but first of all, this is a bit of a dangerous place to be, isn't it? You've had not a few incidents.
Well, it's a very popular site for walking dogs, which I don't mind at all. But you know, we lose several sheep a year off the top of the cliff, and a lot of the time you just don't hear about that. It's the poor old dog that goes over as well, and you know, it gets rescued. And
one labourer went over the edge. Is that right? Someone that was doing some
gorse mowing. Yeah. Went
mowing the gorse on a
yeah.
machine.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been there. I mean, in a way, it was his own fault. We just had a load of rain. The ground was greasy, but you know, it's just one of those things, really. And I mean, if you go over there, you don't survive.
No, it's a bit treacherous, so you have to be a bit
Yeah.
careful with the kids and everything.
Yes, that's right.
I mean,
yeah.
you train to do the right thing. But anyway, look, the dog's pushing you over the edge of the cliff at the
Yeah,
moment.
as well,
Like,
I
he's
think.
bored. He wants to go running around, but we have to keep him a bit under control, obviously, here. So we'll wander up and have a look, shall we, at your fields?
Yeah, fine. Okay.
We survived. This is Greater Tussock Sedge, and this is what it looks like, lush growth, when it's been protected from cattle by fencing. And over here, this is what it looks like here, these stumps sticking up when the cattle have been allowed to graze it. So it's another aspect of management here on the farm, is to protect the grass, the rare grass, from overgrazing by fencing. So Colin, this is your farm.
Yes, it is.
You can see it all from here.
Near enough, yeah.
And this is what you have to figure out, what you're going to do where, what you're going to put on each field to help the wildlife and to make a living for
Well,
you.
to make a living more than anything else,
First and
but
foremost.
you know, why we do it is because we know that we can make a living and help the wildlife at the same time. So
Yeah.
you know, that's what we do.
Yeah. Okay, and so just describe to me some of the fields. They're slightly different colours, it's subtle,
Yeah.
but what we've got out there are very different kinds of habitat, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. As you can see, the foreground field, the large field here.
The big square field?
The big square field. Well, the whole of that field was one field when we first came here, but we've taken out this square at the bottom.
Right.
And that is now grassland. And then beyond that, on the right-hand side up the bank, there's winter wheat. And then to the left of that, there's winter stubbles on the bottom, which will be planted for our wild bird seed this spring. And then above that is set aside. The winter wheat is a very good cash crop. I mean, it is what makes the money. But if we can, if we can make a profit out of the wild bird seed, what you're getting is bags and bags of winter stubble, which means that you've got all this fantastic habitat for all sorts of things.
Because otherwise it's not really cost effective for you.
No, I'm afraid it's not.
You then have to go back to the winter wheat, because that gives you a good yield and a good income.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we have to pay the rent, and that's the way we pay the rent at the moment. But we'd love to have the farm all in winter stubbles. It'd be great.
You're hoping that the seeds business will take off, and you'll be able to.
Yeah, the more and more seed we sell, the more and more winter stubbles we generate, and that's what it's all about. That's what we're trying to do.
Right. And we've also got down here, we can see in the foreground this strip of trees, and they're willow trees, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's because, is that because there's a bit of damp?
It's very damp underneath there, and it's traditionally they've always been here, and that's quite a good little spot, really. What do you get in there? Well, all the breeding warblers, they stay in there, and we, of course, with the cove and the valley. All the autumn migrants and the spring migrants, they all congregate in there, so you get loads of rarities in there as well. Yeah, you brought out your binoculars today and you keep stopping. You say, I don't get much chance to come out. No, I don't very much. Forgive me if I... Yeah, that's right, I'm afraid it's too much work. But you know they're there, and you know that your type of farming is helping them, so it must be very rewarding. Definitely. Oh yeah. Brilliant. Oh, we've seen big increases of all sorts of things, especially the hares. Right, we're going to go and try and find some hares, aren't we? Yeah. Should we do that? I've got my glasses, which are broken. At least I can see. Louis singing. And we've got Emily in the car here, over here. Emily's coming to Devon. She's taken off her glasses. And we've got Betty here, who's especially come in the front because she wants to lie on the duvet. And we've got JJ in the back there, who's our production second camera. Yeah. And Scott. Do you want to just film Scott, JJ? Scott, the cameraman, and we're all going to Devon to find out about how to make the countryside beautiful again. Our destination was South Ham, almost the southernmost tip of Devon. Colin and Vanessa Mills manage their farm, which is owned by the National Trust, under the government's Countryside Stewardship Scheme. They were our host for what is possibly the wettest weekend in living history. Can you hear me? Scott, can you hear me? Yeah. Right, well we've arrived at Southdown Farm.
Southdown Farm, Marlborough, in Kingsbridge.
Sawmill Seeds. And we've met Vanessa and...
The weather is bad.
Reese, who lives here. And it's quite, a challenging day for us to film. But you were just going to tell us something about this.
Yeah, we haven't got any standing water on the farm. So 7 years ago we built the ponds. And now we've got ducks and Canada geese and moorhen nesting here. And also
Colin, who we're going to meet later, he likes bird watching, doesn't he?
Yeah. So we've got sedge warbler coming in and reed warbler nesting in the hedges now, which we haven't had before.
Can you hear us, Scott? Yeah. Excellent. Right. Well, look, we're going to walk down to the beach now, aren't we?
Nearly
God. Are you drowning? Right, don't say we don't take you anywhere, viewers of Wild. And don't say that we give up when the weather's bad, do we? We never give up. We never give up. No, we don't! He's going to be the star of the
Night. Spelling. We're doing Reese's spellings now while we're waiting for the RSPB officer to come. Aren't we, Jessica?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Well done. You corrected it yourself. So just write it out again there.
No.
Crisp. Yeah. Oh, you looked at it. Right. Oh, no, small. Small, like this. C-R-I. Crisp.
Gotta go over here to the back. Look at the wind rattling that. Picked a nice weekend to come to Devon. Right, what can I do? So these are all your seeds?
Yeah.
And you've grown this seed, you've grown all this seed on the farm,
Yeah.
and it's going for bird seed.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, January now, we're packing it up to go out.
Go out. So people for feeding the birds in the bird table.
These are British black sunflower seeds, which I'm told by Ness are better than the French ones because they're more juicy and rounder. And they're grown here on the farm in a wildlife friendly way. And when you use them in your gardens, they're fantastic for great tits, for finches, for woodpeckers. They love them. So these are going off. Where are they going to, Ness?
These are going off to Hertfordshire.
Right, Hertfordshire. So we've got to pack them up, label them, and ready to go. It's quite a commitment, isn't it? Because you can't sort of suddenly stop feeding the birds in your garden. I mean, if they got used to that, then you have to keep. And when you go on holiday and things, I mean, I know people that make provision that when they go on holiday, the birds are fed by a neighbour or something. It's almost like having a pet then, isn't it? I mean, although obviously they are wild animals.
Yes, we have got customers that we obviously during the Christmas period when Parsival stopped for a few days, then there was quite a lot of orders, people going away at Christmas time, organising neighbours to feed the birds for them.
Brilliant.
That's got to be 10 kilos.
There we go. 10.202.
Yep.
Got a bit of a bargain. 10.02. Toto. What? Good Toto.
A sailor went to chop to see what he could chop. But all that he could chop was the bottom of deep blue chop.
So we're standing in one of Colin and Vanessa's fields on a field margin, aren't we, Vanessa? And we can see the difference between this bit, which you haven't made into a crop.
Yeah.
From it's a 2 metre wide field margin, and over here it's your crop. Now, what's the advantage of that? Why have you done that?
It's because the stewardship are paying us to leave the 2 metre strip or a 6 metre strip.
Okay, so 6 metre strip over here.
Optional. Most species like wildlife corridors. So if you adjoin that, it will be adjoined a hedge or a bank or a ditch or a dike, watercourse. So you've got a 2 metre margin of grassland habitat that's not cultivated, it's not sprayed, and hardly any vehicles go across it. So it's good for ground nesting birds, for bird species that are in the hedge can then feed in the field margins for insects.
And Kath, do you see wildlife kind of coming into these areas? Is it?
Yeah, they do. They love these strips, especially as Vanessa said. You know, if you've got a really nice hedge or a good ditch, you know, you've got a good corridor of habitat and lots of there'll be loads of invertebrates in here.
So butterflies, grasshoppers.
And you get grasshoppers and the butterflies, as you say.
And obviously we've got hare populations. The leverets are in the long grass during the breeding season, and as the grass is growing taller, And obviously then the foxes go up and down these wildlife corridors, chopping up the leverets and the ground nesting birds.
And barn owls like
And the barn owls like to.
And kestrels will like these, sort of tussocky sort of margins.
So like a series of sort of interconnected wildlife highways across the farm, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Sort of each field having its own.
Yeah.
And brilliant. Now this is winter wheat,
Yeah.
which is one of the things that birds have been suffering from, is that we think, because they, rather than planting, I've got to get this right, it's quite complicated, rather than planting your crop in spring
Yeah.
and then harvesting it in autumn, you plant it at the beginning of the winter, and it starts to
winter
grow.
wheat, yes, in August, September up to October.
And the birds don't like that for two reasons. They don't like that because they don't have stubble over the winter, which we've.
That's right.
No, I mean, I guess nobody realised that this stubble, stubble on the fields was so good for birds.
Yeah, and I guess it was quite a subtle thing, really. People were thinking, well, we're still growing the same crops, but it was just the timing that was different. So you weren't getting sort of maybe these fallow areas over the winter when the birds were really using them, and they are a real sort of larder of winter food.
Okay, so before you explain to us, Kath, how good winter stubble is, we'll go and have a look at it, shall we?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's in the next door field, is it?
Yeah.
Let's go. Right, well, this rather unappealing looking stuff, Kath and Vanessa, is actually, this is it. This is winter stubble. This is fantastic for birds.
It is.
Can you prove it? Can you convince
Yeah,
us?
if you look in the swath here, which is what the combine's chucked out at the back of the combine, it's gone through the combine and out the other side. Each of these are the seed pods of oilseed rape, and in the seed pods that have gone through the combine, there are still occasionally the black seeds. And this is what.
So this is what the crop that you had on this field in the summer, in the spring, was oilseed rape.
Oilseed rape. It was harvested in September.
Right.
And now in January there are still seed pods, parts of seeds
So
here.
bits, basically it's just the bits that
The
have
bits.
not been
It's all
harvested.
Yeah. This is what is keeping the birds alive during the winter months on winter stubbles.
Now
Obviously,
this isn't nothing new, is it? I mean, in fact, it's something that we've done for years and years, and then they've recently discovered that when the system was changed, as we said, to spring to winter sown crops,
Yeah.
they found that losing this was a big problem for birds.
Well, it was, because this is what keeps them going during the winter, really, for a lot of our farmland bird species, and the sow bunting, which is obviously sort of a rarity of this area.
Right.
Devon is the only place where you get sow buntings now in the UK, and this is a real sort of hot spot for them. And
Okay, so you've started talking about your birds,
Yep.
your special birds,
As I
Kath.
do, yeah.
And it's your special bird as well, Vanessa, because you've got them on the farm. They're
We've also
extremely
got-
rare. There's about 400 of them in the country.
450 pairs that we
Right.
had in the last survey, which was in 1998, and hopefully we'll do a survey next year to see, this year actually, to see how they're doing.
Why are they so rare? Why are they so? Are they fussy, or what's the?
They're not necessarily fussy, in comparison to other farmland birds. They're wanting the same sort of thing, so they need these stubbles during the winter, or areas where there's lots of seed. So they will feed around if you're feeding outwintering stock and you're feeding them with hay or grain. So they'll feed around them. They used to be called the village bunting as well, because they used to be around people's gardens, around threshing yards. Where there'd be a lot, rich source of food. But one of the main things about sow buntings is they're very sedentary. So they need everything that, so they need their winter food right next to their summer food, really. And they also need really nice, good hedges or areas of scrubbed nesting as well. And this has all got to be very close together, which is one of the reasons that they've, sort of hung on in Devon, because you've still got a, good network of small fields. So there's lots of shelter for them. They don't like to feed very far from hedges.
So going back to this, I mean, it doesn't look that amazing, but it's crucial.
It is absolutely crucial.
It's crucial for the birds.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And is it working? Are you seeing different amounts of birds now?
Yeah, we're increasing the sow bunting populations. Increased from, I think we had 2 pairs here in 10 years ago. We've got 12 breeding pairs here now.
You've got a kind of triple whammy here in a sense. You've got, not only are you producing a crop and you're leaving the winter stubble, but the crop that you're producing is actually for the bird
seed
itself. It's for bird seed. And feeding birds in gardens does seem to be helping bird populations in general.
Yeah, and also, you know, going back to my bird that I work on, I mean, again, you know, cell buntings will go into people's gardens.
Right.
And in some areas it's probably the thing that's keeping them going there, because, you know, there isn't any of the spring arable. So, you know, going into people's garden is what's keeping them going through the winter.